friends, thank you for watching this. In America, we live in an age right now, unfortunately, of cancel culture. Not that all of cancel culture is wrong, but some of it is. We live in an age where people are removing monuments. Now, some of it might not be bad, some of it is. And they're really overzealous about removing monuments. For example, why would in California there was a monument removed to Ulysses Grant, General Grant. Why would you take down a statue of Grant? It makes no sense. It was done though. We live in an age of political correctness. I'm a person that doesn't strive for political correctness. I'm a person that strives for the truth, wherever that may lie. But the truth is being covered up by political correctness. So, I wanted to take this time. I don't think we can just take a magic wand and say, well, all these subjects are good. We have to look at subjects individually. And there's one, now although I'm against a lot of what cancel culture is, I'm against a lot of what revisionist history is, but I don't think this is revisionist history. First, I want to say, I'm a patriotic American. And proudly to a fault. There's no other place in the world where I would rather live. There's no other place in the world where I would rather be a citizen of. I'm a patriotic American. I love my country. And as someone who loves my nation, someone who wants the United States to be a world leader for the good, one relic of the past that I don't know why so many people cling to. Now, I've lived in the Midwest, I've lived in the South, I've lived in the North. I've been in a lot of places in the U.S., not just traveled there, but lived there. One relic of the past that people absolutely cling to, and you can almost go into, you can go into so many different neighborhoods, whether it's even in northern Nebraska, whether it's in, just northern Pennsylvania, like obvious northern places, and you might see a Confederate flag. A Confederate flag's a relic of the past that people are clinging to now, and I just wonder why. Why would someone put up a Confederate flag? During the storming of the Capitol that happened earlier this year, there was an image of someone holding a Confederate flag in the Capitol building. And when I saw that picture, I would have just done a facepalm like that if I just wasn't so disheartened by seeing the Confederate flag in the Capitol building of the U.S. It just doesn't belong there. When I see the Confederate flag, this is precisely what I see. I see a flag representing treason. That flag represents the first shot taken in the U.S. Civil War. The South fired first at Fort Sumter, and that war ended up taking over more American lives than all the other wars America was involved in combined. The American Civil War was, it was, the death toll and the casualty toll for the United States was just, beyond whatever we'd experienced. Now I know if you live in France, World War I and World War II, have worse. But for us in the United States of America, the U.S. Civil War was the worst. And when I see the Confederate flag, that's a representation to me of what was responsible for that war. The Confederate flag represents troops under that flag fought against troops fighting under the U.S. flag. Now, when you think about it, is there any way that flag does not represent treason? Now, a lot of people will use the race issue. That flag represents slavery. But the first thing that I want to say is treason. If you are a patriotic American, now most African American, most black individuals don't have a Confederate flag out. It's mostly white Americans that, some might, but these same people that have a Confederate flag up will claim to be patriotic Americans. That makes no sense to me. If you're a patriotic American, why are you hanging a flag in your yard that represents treason to America? It is silly. It's foolish. That flag, that Confederate flag of the U.S., you know what they were fighting for? Don't say states' rights. Don't. Who have the Confederate flag up. They may maintain that the Confederate flag represents states' rights. That's a false argument. The North, during the American Civil War, they wanted states' rights just as much as the South do. Where I currently live, which is a northern state, we want states' rights just as much as any southern state does. The Civil War wasn't about states' rights. And I have evidence. Do you know that the last case for states' rights versus federal rights in prelude to the Civil War, it was not a southern state that went to the Supreme Court over it. It was the state of Wisconsin. Do your history, do your research. The last states' rights versus federal rights case was Wisconsin, a northern state. The North wanted states' rights just as much as the South. So what was the Civil War about? It was about one particular state right. The particular state right, it wasn't about state rights in general. It was about the right to own slaves. Do you really want to hang that up in your yard? A flag, and their main cause was to preserve the right to own slaves? Really? You want that in your yard? Now, should Confederate flags be banned? No, they shouldn't be banned. And, for the same reason why burning the American flag shouldn't be banned. Because in the United States of America, we have freedom. And we should honor that freedom. We should embrace that freedom. But when you're hanging a Confederate flag up, you're sticking your thumb at that freedom. You're fighting against it. And it makes no sense. And if you try to be a good person, if you try to be a sympathetic and compassionate person to others, my main argument here for not clinging to the Confederate flag has been treason. Has been that flag has represented treason. But if we're compassionate and sympathetic, we try not to do things that hurt other people, right? I mean, we don't want to do things that hurt other people. How do you think a black person reacts to the Confederate flag? If you have a Confederate flag in your neighborhood, and you have a black person that walks by your yard or drives past their yard, and they see that flag, now to some black individuals, they may not care whatsoever. But to the other black individuals, it may wound them deeply. Now, when I see the Confederate flag, I see treason. When I saw it in the Capitol, that offended me. But see, it didn't wound me like it would a black person, because my race wasn't subject to slavery in the United States of America under that flag. Now, if, 200 years ago, or, less than 200 years ago, if your race, not your family, but your race was subject to the South under slavery, under that flag, do you not see why you might not like it? Do you not see why it might not give you some bad feelings? So why would you hang it? I mean, is there anything positive about the Confederate flag? Now, just to be clear, if you're hanging the Confederate flag, I'm not saying that you are committing treason. And I'm not saying that you're not a good person. I'm saying I think that you might be ignorant of the real issues at play. A patriotic American that is compassionate and sympathetic to how others feel should not hang the Confederate flag in their yard. I mean, what good does it possibly have? And again, I've already shut down the state rights issue. It doesn't represent state right. It represents the state right to own slavery. And when the U.S. says that we're going to try to get rid of slavery, they're going to open fire. About the issue of slavery, did you know that when the South was on the verge of losing the war, there was a bill taken to the government, to Jefferson Davis, about letting the slaves go free if they would fight for the Confederacy? And do you know the first time that went, it was, it was shut down. And you know the reason why it was shut down? It was shut down because they said, well, why are we fighting the war to begin with? Friends, if you live in America, if you live in the U.S., I think we have good reason to be patriots. Friends, the Confederate flag and the United States flag do not belong together. At their core, at their value, you have treason, you have slavery, you have freedom, and you have America. You have to choose. And I'm going to venture to say that if you want to side with the Confederate flag, if that represents your values more than the United States flag does, if you have the money and the means, are you living in the right place?